When individuals survive catastrophes, it's often said afterwards that they have to put their lives back together. But how does an entire country put its life back together after national tragedy? On April the 7th, 1994, the plane of Rwanda's President Juvenal Habyarimana was shot down. This catalyzed the Rwanda genocide against the Tutsis. By the time the killing sprees concluded in July of that year, an estimated 500,000 to 1 million people were dead. 2024 marks the 30th anniversary of the Rwandan genocide. The Trumpet on February 5th spoke with Dieudonné Nagiriwubuntu, a genocide survivor and manager of Kigali Genocide Memorial in Rwanda's capital. How has the situation in Rwanda changed since 1994? How can a society move forward after something as horrific as the genocide? We discussed that and more in the following interview. So, for our viewers who may not be as familiar with the events of 1994 in Rwanda, would you mind giving a little bit of a background as to what happened there, what happened on April the 7th, and what the country went through in that time period?
Thank you, Mihailo. Yeah, the genocide against the Tutsi started in April, but before that, the Rwanda went through a long time period of discrimination, violence, and the very first killings started in 1959 after the death of the king, and that marked also an abolition of the monarchy, from the monarchy to the republic. And many of the Tutsis fled to the neighboring countries in Uganda, Burundi, Tanzania, and were discriminated and was actually considered as strangers. And that followed by other series of killings, 1962, 1973, 1990. All that was actually the plan of the genocidaries with other steps of genocide prevention, genocide preparation, violence, that's also reaching to the dehumanization. So 1994 became worse, where more than 1 million was killed from April to July. That's the genocide against the Tutsi that took the lives of many of Rwandans. And I may say that in very brief, that's actually it was perpetrated by the government and its collaborators, extremist Hutus, and the target was to wipe out Tutsis. Thank you.
Of course. So the genocide finished in July that year, as you mentioned. That's obviously a massive loss of life in a very, very short amount of time. From your perspective, as somebody that is from there, as somebody who has family that would have lived through these events, what was everybody thinking once the dust had settled and people started to put their lives back together?
Um, the genocide against the Tutsi, I may say, is unimaginable. No one could imagine that event and what Ronan went through. Uh, Explaining this tragedy is it's unbelievable. As a person who survived the genocide, as a person who is in this work at the memorial, as a manager of the memorial, uh, so not only me, but other people, Rwandans who went through this. It's and no one can imagine what went through is beyond that imaginations. But again, it's also beyond and unbelievable. So seeing Rwanda after the genocide. seeing how people are coming together. It's both period that shows that extreme of lack of humanity, of darkness, extreme of that history that really took that life, those lives of Rwandans, but also seeing another side of how people are coming to get this light of remembrance and light of life coming after is also incredible. Yeah, that's what I may say now.
Okay, and so as the years went by, how did the idea for the memorial get started?
The aftermath of the genocide, as I said, more than 1 million was killed. So each and every corner of Rwanda was touched. North, south, east, west, and Kigali as a capital city. So the families started to rebury the bodies of victims, sometimes in their house grounds, or people who were thrown nearby the roads. Some people were trying to get the bodies, but we started also to see some mass graves because it was planned. So the government of Rwanda, the first thing it was to keep alive, the memory. Started to have a dignity burial place. Then the idea of having the Kigali Genocide Memorial, where it is built here, is in Gisozi, in Kigali city. There was also in the neighborhood, there are a number of people who were killed in that area. But the memorial was not, the place was a very free land, of course, where the neighbors were killed from. So the government gave the land to the families of survivors to create dignity burial place. So some of the people, survivors in the city, started to dehumanize. I mean, to exhume the bodies for being reburied to the memorial. So 14 mass graves were created, and the body started to be brought to the memorial for burials. And later, in 1999, the government, one of the mayors of the Kigali, Theonest Mutsingashaka, visited the Aegis Trust. It's a UK-based international genocide prevention. So they have the Holocaust museum in Nottingham. So through their expertise, and will also be inspired by the Yad Vashem Memorial, they started the education program in the UK. So seeing the exhibition, seeing how they're impacting lives of many of European people to know about Holocaust. So the government welcomed Aegis Trust to come and document the history. So that's how in 2004, the memorial was officially launched with not only mass graves, but also with a genocide museum that serves as an education tour, where there's that exhibition about the historical background of genocide, and also an exhibition dedicated to other genocide mass killings around the world. And also the section about children victims of genocide show the cruelty of genocidaries, how they wanted to kill innocent kids to make sure that the future generation will never emerge again. So the memorial came to be again as site for the National Genocide Archives that is available online. We can visit the Genocide Archive, but also we have an education program, and the designed methodology was adopted in schools as a cross-cutting subject, developing skills of empathy, trust, personal responsibility, and other positive values to make never again a reality. So that's the memorial mission and activity on daily basis, part from receiving visitors, but also it serves on the side of education for making the never again a reality. Thank you.
Yes, in 2004, that was 20 years ago now. That wasn't that far away from the events that took place in the genocide. I'm sure would have been fresh on a lot of people's minds. How did people react when this center was put up in the capital city for everybody to see? I'm sure there would have been a lot of different opinions from different people, from survivors, from perpetrators, from their associates, etc.
The community was so, let me say, happy because the first reaction was say, now I have where to take to remember my relatives. But before even talking about the venue, like the place to go, the very first thing is about very good leaders that having this as a priority to keep alive the memory of the genocide, so people be remembered by their names, by their photos. So to have this documented, exhibited, it was a really huge joy to Rwandans. Many started to visit the memorial to again remember what we went through the exhibition. But again, people started to find a way to mourn for their relatives. You know, during the genocide, you remember just see your dad or your family members be killed and just run, go. You don't have time to mourn, but the government having this way of commemoration. Every year we have the 100 days of commemoration, starts from April to July, but there's a 1 day of meditation about the genocide against the Tutsi on the 7th of April. And that lasts actually a week. From 7th through 13th is a whole 1 week of commemoration. And for other different part and different families to commemorate, it lasts 100 days. So having that time, people find a memorial, not only Kigali Genocide Memorial, everywhere we're counting more than 200 memorials in the country. So people going to the memorials, go with flowers, giving love to their relatives. It's a home to the survivors, but again, it's a place for perpetrators, as the story of Rwanda may say. The uniqueness is about how people were able to confess publicly and ask for forgiveness, and facing going through the trials. People who were sentenced for some years according to the categories, and be benefiting from the presidential pardon, like the very first case of 2003. People who were out of prison now living in villages of reconciliation, coming to visit the memorial, be able to see how the genocide was planned, executed, and how the brainwashing strategy worked on their minds as an ordinary person to become a killer. So a place where the whole family of Rwandans comes and see the reality of what happened, but also see the homegrown solutions shaded by the good leadership to restore peace and reconciliation in Rwanda. So it's a place that everyone say that, wow, this is a very good home for us to learn and also prevent. Yeah.
So it's not just a memorial for what happened before, it's also a place where people can, from both sides, can come together and heal the wounds and move forward then.
Yes, exactly. That's what this memorial is.
Hmm. And how did you personally get involved with the work of the memorial?
Yeah, thank you. I was hired as actually this is my 14th year in this journey. I started very, let me say, young, 2010 as a sales attendant in one of the gift shop that we were encouraging survivors to not keep um, taken by the wounds and pain of the histories of some survivors, orphans, and widows, trying to do some handcraft things, making bags, making some necklaces to for the purpose of economic empowerment. So from there, I became a guide, and yeah, facilitating on the visit of the memorial, guiding interpretation in the exhibitions, and be involved in management. Then later I became a guest relations officer. So I grew up in this mission of the Aegis Trust and the memorial, and later became the manager in 2022. Um, so yeah, that's how I got involved in this work. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Now, obviously, 20 years is a long time for the
Mm.
memorial to be working, to be developing, to be changing its, well, I won't say changing, but 20 years is a long time for the memorial to have an impact in Rwandan society, to uh, develop, to start new projects. Since those 20 years have passed, has anything changed with, say, the scope of the memorial or its mission or its other activities?
So 20 years is a milestone of a lot of achievement in terms of memory preservation. Uh, it's a milestone also of seeing this memorial, yeah, growing in terms of people who are visiting the memorial, counting now more than 150,000 guests on a year basis. Uh, that's making this message to reach the world. Tourists, local leaders who are visiting the country, people who are coming for conferences, coming to see the beauty of the nation, but also understand what we went through. So this is actually that 20 years in this is in this mission as the memorial, having that number of people on annual basis, except the COVID, the pandemic, that actually, yeah, affected every country in this world. But after the only 2020 and 2021, these are the years that was really like no one visiting the memorial. Other time is very busy. So having all those category of people, and especially schools from local and international ones coming to learn about the history of the genocide against the Tutsi, but also learn about the future of the country, how people were able to overcome the consequences of the genocide, and so reaching to the level of having that hope and reconciliation and forgiveness. So 20 years is a very meaningful time, and see how the memorial is growing in terms of also the developed education program now through the Ministry of Education, as I mentioned before, is part of the national curriculum, where students, teachers, parents are able to come and learn about these positive values. So it's a very good year. The 2024 is a good year to see how we say that, though is a very heartbreaking memorial to some of the exhibitions, but also is a place where people go and find hope. Yeah.
I guess that's quite a bit of an impact that the memorial has been able to make just through influencing government curricula, influencing school groups, whatnot. What would be the day-to-day activities and, shall we say, the programs of the memorial today, with how far it's grown and the impact it has been able to make?
Yeah, the activity, day-to-day activities of the memorial is actually, we have many guests that comes. So we have our reception team, and yeah, the guides who are always with guests, and the very busiest period is the commemoration period, where we have thousands of Rwandans coming to visit, but also the high season of tourism from May to November is a very busy period with gays. So we receive all these groups, and we also have programs of impacting lives of other countries, going through conflict, ethnic-based conflict, or other like hate speeches. So we have, as Aegis Trust, that mission of working in different countries to help. So that's how our international relations team work on daily basis, in touch with universities, in touch with some leaders in the countries, to receive their queries about how we can do some workshops about peace and conflict management, and also building peace in their communities. But also our education team is always busy with workshops of parents and also students. And of course, when it comes to the archives, we're on daily basis on recordings of testimonies, receiving photos of survivors, of the victims, by the families of survivors giving all those donations. And also, of course, going on the field to do research. And we also have events happening. We have an amphitheater that hosts events of peace theater, peace festivals, to make this memorial a way of a place of giving hope to many. So through arts, the youth groups, art groups, theaters that are happening at the memorial, to be able to give that message of hope. So that's actually some of the activities happening on daily basis, but again, with also archiving some of the materials that was collected from different communities. Some they like some weapons, but also we have other exhibitions about the personal belongings, clothes, ID cards, groceries, shoes. So that's the team that is always also busy with making sure that they are in a very good condition to serve the generations to come. Yeah.
Of course. Can you mention maybe some of the countries that the memorial and your associates are involved with?
Yeah, the Aegis Trust and the Memorial has been in touch and also having operating in Kenya, South Sudan, and Central African Republic. Um, yeah, Darfur, that's the South Sudan. Yeah, and we now working in and of course in the UK as the headquarter of the Aegis Trust, and now partnering with different organization and non-profit in the US. Yeah.
So after tragedies like genocide happen, especially with something that was so on such a large scale as the one in Rwanda and so recent, from your perspective, what would you say be the biggest difficulty in fostering reconciliation, and how does one fix that?
I may say that the after that very big event, a big tragedy of hate, and even it takes a really long time to brainwash a group to kill another one. So, it's not an easy, thing to talk about reconciliations, talk about forgiveness, but it's a possible thing. It's a possible journey. So I may say that in Rwanda is working, and it is on a very good track, but it's on still ongoing process. Saying this on growing process and ongoing process, that's on an individual level, but on national level, maybe you will talk to the communication team, our team, to also maybe connect you with the Minister of Unity and Civic Engagement to go through all this so that they can give you the national picture in terms of unity and reconciliation and the resilience. But what I can say on my personal view is that we are on, as a nation, is on a very good track where 98% of Rwandans, as comparing to the survivors and also perpetrators, people who were able to see each other, were able, success stories, you have them reconciled, forgiven. So it is a very hard, tough decision, but possible. That Rwanda proven that is possible, because after this 30 years, because this year we are marking 30 years of commemorating the genocide against the Tutsi. So it's a very hard but possible journey. Yeah.
Indeed. And so now, as we're approaching that 30-year anniversary with the genocide now 3 decades in hindsight, what does the future hold for the Kigali Genocide Memorial going forward?
The hope, the future of this memorial um, is that we are now having this, let me say this, we are so happy. We are so happy that 20 years was a very great, let me say, success of the existence of the memorial. Of course, because of the very good leadership of this nation, supporting the memory preservation mission, history protecting. So from this whole package of the 20 years is a very big hope that the future is going to be brighter and brighter in terms of a memory preservation, education, and genocide prevention. Maybe I don't know if you know that we are now, the memorial is now part of the UNESCO World Heritage since last year. And that is a very great achievement. We say that the future is becoming brighter, and many of people who are looking for this history becoming a world heritage is bringing everyone to learn, to also be aware of this memorial, but also not only just be aware, but also joining this mission of genocide prevention and knowing the role of memory in peace building, in building community, to be a community with no violence, with no segregation. Yeah.
Well, Dieudonné, thank you again for agreeing to this interview. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And as we go forward, I hope that the memorial finds success and is able to do a great work.
Thank you, Mihailo. It's a pleasure, and thank you very much for being trusted to know more about the work of the memorial, about history of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, and we look forward to staying in touch.
That was Kigali Genocide Memorial Manager Dieudonné Nagiriwubuntu. You can learn more about the memorial and its activities at their website, kgm.rw. From our talk, it was impressive to learn how much Rwanda has been able to move forward since 1994. Rwanda, of course, still has its challenges, as every country does, but it is still inspiring to see in this war-sick world a working peace. You can read Chapter 2 of our Editor-in-Chief Gerald Fleury's booklet, The Way of Peace Restored Momentarily, online for more about Rwanda and peace among nations.